Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. Today we're looking at some really practical advice for becoming more fluent and confident in English.
Absolutely. And you know what's cool? These tips are helpful even if you aren't at an advanced level.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. This first step might surprise you.
Yeah.
It's all about active listening.
You might be thinking, wait a minute, isn't this about speaking? But trust me, active listening, it's the foundation of any conversation. Like building a house, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can't have a strong structure without a solid foundation.
I never thought of it like that, but yeah, it makes sense. If you're not really paying attention to what the other person is saying, how can you even respond in a thoughtful way? Or even keep the conversation going, really?
Exactly. And, how often do we find our minds just wandering during conversations?
Oh, all the time.
All the time, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Suddenly you're thinking about what you're going to make for dinner, or you're already planning your reply in your head.
Oh, 100%. I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
Especially when someone starts talking about something that maybe I don't know a lot about, my brain just kind of like checks out.
Yeah. It's so common, but to become a more fluent speaker, we need to train ourselves to be present, to really absorb what the other person is saying. And that's not just their words,
Yeah.
but also their nonverbal cues.
Nonverbal cues, like what?
Like, are they leaning in? Are they making eye contact? Are they fidgeting? These cues, they can add so much meaning to what they're saying, and it can really help you understand their message more fully.
Yeah, I'm going to have to start paying more attention to those subtle signals. It's like a secret language almost.
It is. And here's another tip for active listening. As you're listening, think about questions that you might want to ask or points that you'd like to clarify.
So instead of letting my mind wander, I should be thinking of questions and responses. Really engaging.
Exactly. It's not passive,
Yeah.
It's dynamic. You're participating in the exchange of ideas.
I love that. Active listening is the key. So what's the next step to becoming a more fluent and confident English speaker?
Well, this one might sound a little counterintuitive, but it's about being more interested than interesting.
Oh, I like that. Tell me more.
Think about the people you really enjoy talking to. Are they the ones who are always talking about themselves?
Well,
Or are they the ones who are genuinely curious about you, asking questions?
definitely the ones that are curious about me make you feel like you're the most interesting person in the room, right?
Right, exactly. And that's the key. When you demonstrate that genuine interest in others, you become more memorable and enjoyable to talk to.
Yeah.
It's not about being a wallflower or anything.
Right.
It's about creating that space for a genuine connection.
So how do we do that? How do we become more interested than interesting?
One of the most powerful ways is by asking questions. So let's say you meet someone who just got back from a 7-day trip to Texas.
Okay, Texas.
Mm.
I'm intrigued. Hit me with some questions.
Okay, well, first I want you, the listener, to think about one question you could ask to show that you're interested in their trip. Could be anything. Take a moment. You can even pause the episode and come up with one question.
Right, I'll play along.
Okay,
I think I've got one.
great. Now, try to come up with 2 more. A total of 3. We'll wait.
All right, I have my 3 questions ready. But full disclosure, I had to really dig deep for that third one. What if you asked me for 50? Could I even do it?
Oh, absolutely. And the secret is thinking in categories.
Thinking in categories. What do you mean?
Well, for a trip, you could think about transportation,
Okay.
food, accommodation, weather, entertainment, the activities they did, people they met. Did they like it? Did they not like it? Would they recommend it? Things like that.
Whoa. Yeah, my brain is like exploding with questions now.
Exactly. And see, when you break it down into categories, you can unlock so many questions.
Like a cheat code for conversations. I bet as they answer your questions, even more questions just pop up naturally, Rosa.
Exactly. And it keeps the conversation lively and engaging.
I am sold on the power of questions. But of course, it's a two-way street. It's not just about asking questions. It's about sharing your own thoughts and ideas clearly.
And that's where our third step comes in, structuring your ideas. Because fluent speech, it isn't just a random stream of words. It has structure.
Oh, so it's like building a house again.
Yes.
You need the solid foundation, you need the framework, you need the roof to make it all come together.
Exactly. Think about it like a well-written book or a captivating movie, right?
Yeah.
It has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Even this episode, we didn't just jump right into step 3. We set the stage. We're creating a logical flow.
Exactly. And that logical flow, that's what we call structure. It's what makes communication clear and compelling.
Okay, so tell me more about this structure. How can I use it to improve my English fluency?
It's a simple but powerful framework: introduction, body, and conclusion.
All right, break it down for me. What's the introduction?
The introduction sets the stage. It prepares your listener for what you're about to say. It can be formal, like, "Today, I'd like to share 3 key strategies for improving English fluency." Or casual, like, "Hey, guess what? I learned this really cool trick for speaking more confidently."
Oh, so it's like a roadmap. It lets the listener know where we're going.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what about the body?
The body is where you expand on your main ideas. Provide those details, answer those WH questions. Who, what, when, where, why, and how.
Got it. So going back to that Texas trip example,
Yeah.
if I was telling you about it, I'd use the body to answer questions like, why did you go to Texas? Who did you go with? What were the highlights?
Exactly. And you know what? By answering those questions, you naturally create a structure that's easy to follow.
This is making so much sense. And finally, the conclusion. What's that for?
The conclusion signals the end of your thought, and it summarizes those key points. It's like tying a neat little bow on your message.
So instead of just like abruptly stopping?
Exactly. It helps to avoid those awkward silences, or that, wait, is that it? Feeling. You can summarize what you've discussed, offer a final thought, or even pose a question to keep the conversation going.
This framework is so simple, but so effective. And I can see how it could be used in so many situations, from casual conversations to more formal presentations.
Exactly. And the best part, it becomes second nature with practice. You'll naturally start structuring your thoughts in a way that just makes you sound more fluent, confident, and engaging.
Okay, so we've covered 3 powerful steps to improve fluency: active listening, being interested more than interesting, and structuring your ideas. I'm feeling more confident already.
That's great. And remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about making progress. Every conversation is an opportunity to practice these skills.
And speaking of practice,
Yeah.
any tips for actually putting these steps into action?
Absolutely. Let's think about that Texas trip example again. All those questions you came up with.
Oh yeah, all those categories really helped me think of questions. I was ready to talk about Texas for hours.
Right. Now imagine you're actually having that conversation. As the person is talking about their experience, resist that urge to interrupt, or jump in with your own stories right away.
So hit the pause button on my thoughts and just listen, even if they're talking about something I'm not that interested in.
Well, that's where that being interested more than interesting comes in. Even if you're not super interested in the topic, challenge yourself to find something that sparks your curiosity. Think, what can I learn from this person? What unique perspective can they offer?
Okay, so instead of thinking this is boring, I need to look for those little interesting details.
Exactly. And here's another key tip for active listening. Look for those natural pauses, those moments where you can ask follow-up questions. Show that you're engaged.
So instead of just nodding along, I should be actively trying to dig deeper.
Yes. For example, they mentioned some amazing Texas barbecue. You could ask, what kind of barbecue was it? Or what made it so special? Or do you have any recommendations if I ever visit?
Oh, okay, I get it. That shows that I'm not just listening, but I'm really trying to understand.
Exactly. And by focusing on their experience, you're actually becoming a better conversationalist yourself, expanding your vocabulary, practicing your listening skills.
Okay, this is amazing. But I have a confession. This structuring ideas thing, it still feels a little daunting. Do I have to think introduction, body, conclusion for every conversation?
I understand. You don't have to overthink it in every casual chat. Think of it as a mental tool you can use when you need it.
Oh, so like a secret weapon for those moments when I want to be extra clear and persuasive.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to get comfortable with it is to practice in those low-pressure situations. Telling a story to a friend or a family member.
So like a dress rehearsal before the real deal.
Precisely. And the more you use it, the more natural it becomes.
Okay, I'm going to try that. But what about those moments when I get nervous? My mind goes blank. I can't think of what to say. Any tips for handling those situations?
Of course. First of all, remember that everyone gets nervous sometimes. It's totally normal.
Even you. You always seem so, calm and collected when you're speaking.
Oh, trust me, I get nervous too. The key is to try to reframe those nerves as excitement. Instead of thinking, oh no, I'm going to mess this up, think, I'm excited to share my thoughts and connect with this person.
That's a good point. Instead of dreading those nerves, embrace them.
Exactly. And if you do find yourself, stumbling over your words or feeling tongue-tied, don't panic. Just take a deep breath, pause for a moment, and then continue.
So it's okay to pause, like to regroup.
Absolutely. Pauses can actually be really powerful in communication. They can create emphasis, give your listener time to process information, even build suspense.
Wow, I never thought of pauses like that.
Yeah.
I usually try to, avoid them. I feel like they make me seem less fluent.
I know, it's a common thing.
Okay.
But try to embrace those moments of silence. They can really enhance your communication.
This is so interesting. I'm learning so much about communication that I just never thought about before.
It's fascinating, isn't it? There's always more to learn.
Okay, I am feeling really inspired to put all of this into practice. But before we wrap up, I have one last question. What's one thing our listeners can do today to start becoming more fluent and confident English speakers?
I would say choose one conversation you'll have today and really consciously apply these strategies.
Oh, I love that. So pick a conversation, could be with a colleague, a friend, a family member, anyone, and just really focus on being present, asking those insightful questions, and structuring your thoughts in a clear and compelling way.
Exactly. Pay attention to how it feels, how the other person responds. You might be surprised by the difference it makes.
And remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. Every conversation is a chance to practice.
That's it. And as you keep practicing, you'll become more confident, more articulate, and more at ease in any conversation.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about the art of communication.
And the journey doesn't end here. Keep practicing and keep those conversations flowing.
That's right. So go out there, connect with others, and let your voice be heard.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning and keep those conversations going.